In the last month of NBA basketball, the Western Conference has seen the biggest trade in NBA history, the Warriors being revived, Victor Wembanyama went out for the season, and a whole lot else. So let's see where everybody stands.
We're going to put every Western Conference NBA team into a tier list.
I think every season post All-Star break is really when the narratives really set in for every team. We really get our understanding of who's good, who's mid, who's worse than mid, etc. So I think today, coming off of the craziest trade deadline in NBA history potentially, we got to gauge the entire NBA Western Conference and figure out who's real in this conference, who can actually win.
Yeah, post All-Star break is definitely interesting because pre-All-Star break is the fakest basketball of the year. And so
January doesn't exist.
Yeah, we've gotten this perfect storm of like the most insane trade deadline we've ever seen, followed by 4 completely fictional games that they don't matter, it doesn't count, and then instantly the All-Star break, and then instantly the next part of the season. And so we have obviously everybody that moved, we're all very ready to like overreact to in a good or a bad way. But even the teams that didn't make any substantial moves are kind of settling into, you know, the identities of what they're going to be in a postseason setting. Yeah.
I like how you said we were ready to overreact to all the new look teams. Yes. That's essentially what this video is about. What we're going to do today is we're going to gauge what we've seen from these teams. But keep in mind, we're recording this on February 24th. So it is a very small sample size of what we've seen from the Thunder with Chet and Ihart for the first time. The Lakers with
I don't know if
Luka.
it's going to work, guys. I don't think the Thunder. I think it's probably fake, people.
Obviously the Warriors. We have all the other teams that made moves. Very small sample size. So it's going to be a lot of projecting on what we think is real from these few games we've seen. And like we said, compare every team to each other and really lay out like the landscape of the Western Conference. And to do that, we're doing it via a tier list, which, you know, I do a lot on Deep 3 with like A through F letters.
Okay.
This is not that. We are getting different with these tiers.
It's different.
In these 5 tiers we have on screen right now, we have tier 1, the best. Tier 2, I'm dangerous. Tier 3, decent playoff team. Tier 4, hit the showers, bud. And tier 5, you disgust me.
It's different because there's words. I love it. It's beautiful.
And we're going to have some creative liberty to add more tiers as we go.
Nice.
We're starting with these 5. We'll see where this goes, but we're going to get probably pretty niche with these tiers and really get some specific verbiage for how much different teams piss us off, how much faith we have in other teams, etc.
Yeah. Damn. I'm thinking if I had thought about this before, I would have pitched it, but we're live now, so it doesn't matter. It would be fun to do like the tiers as players. So like you have like SGA tier and then like Pat Bev tier at the bottom or something like that. So yeah, you just
get the Pokemon evolution of players. But
they're like a Derek White level team, you know. I like them. They're good. I wouldn't like pick them to come out of the West. Yeah.
Hold on to that. We'll do something with that in the future.
Don't steal that. Don't steal that, guys. If you steal that, you're a dick.
Rival podcast. Fuck
off. Project 95. Welcome back to Project 95, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's start off with a team that probably is going to be somewhere in the middle that we can really set a standard with.
Okay.
The Minnesota Timberwolves. Where do you want to rank them on this tier list?
This is sick because I ranked them twice. Once if Julius Randle's playing and once if Julius Randle's not.
Okay.
If Randle is not playing, I think I would probably put them in dangerous tier. But if he is playing, I think they're a decent playoff team. So how do you feel about those reactions?
I think they're the definition of decent playoff team. Okay, I think obviously early in the season, it was a fucking nightmare and everybody was like doom and gloom. They ruined this team with the cat trade. Julius Randle doesn't fit. They have no point guards because Mike Conley is ancient. Ant is on his own. Blah, 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 blah. They've normalized to some extent, right? We kind of see the version that we thought we'd see after traded Cat, which was a less exciting ceiling team, but still going to be competent from all the reasons they were good last year.
Yeah.
I think we're there now. And I don't think you can possibly see them as like a top 4 team in the West, but you also fully expect them to make like the top 8, right?
Yeah. There's a floor here that a lot of the more volatile teams just don't have. Like the Suns. Spoiler alert. Like the Suns, they could fall as far as they fall. Whereas with the Wolves, I think there's just like a much more solid framework of guys that you can depend on night to night, and a more established depth as well. Like they've weathered injuries to Gobert and Randall and DiVincenzo, and they've played, sticking around basketball. They haven't been flying up the standings or anything, but to lose those guys and stay the 7 seed or whatever they're at right now, it's good. It's promising. And so I feel good playoff team. In this West, you have to play somebody, but I wouldn't love to play them in a playoff series if Randall is not playing, but if he is, I don't know.
They're up to 6 on the season in defense. And early in the year, whenever we were really panicking about them, it was because the defense was kind of dog shit, which dog shit for their standards, right? Coming off of the season where they're number 1 by a mile. They were 14th for the first couple months of the year, which was a problem because they weren't making up for it offensively. They're currently 13th in offense for the year, which feels about right. And, it's honestly exactly what you expect compared to last year. It's a diet version of what made them work last year. Instead of Cat and Gobert giving you these versatile lineups with these 2 bigs, one can shoot, one's an elite rim protector. You have lineups now with Gobert and Naz Reid, which is a diet version of that because he's a little bit worse than Cat. And Gobert is a little bit worse than last year.
He's so sick, dude. And it's fucked up politically that they have to hand wring this stuff about who should we play? It's so matchup dependent, Naz Reid or Julius Randle. And to me, and I really don't hate pinning it all on Julius Randle because they're it's just that the Wolves have put him in position to be the flaw on this team, or one of the big flaws that stands out. So it's not necessarily a fault of his own. It's just that he was at the center of this massive deal. However, I'm pretty sure Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid lineups on the season are plus 10.5, plus 11. And they just make a lot more sense when you watch the games as well.
And they have some interesting young players. I'm blanking on the guy's name who hurt his neck last night playing
Clark.
against OKC, but
he's at Jaden or Jalen Clark.
Jalen. He was giving them really good minutes before he got hurt. They have some interesting supporting cast of young talent. They're finally giving Rob Dillingham minutes. They're finally giving Shannon minutes. We'll see where they go. But there's pieces there that if you want to argue that they have the ceiling of getting into I'm Dangerous, no problem with it. But I think we can lay them directly in the middle of the tier list to start as the quintessential decent playoff team to compare everybody to.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, especially given how again, once they're healthy, I really don't know what to make of it. It feels like we've gotten all these different versions of them over the course of the season, but I'm really not certain what they're going to look like come playoff time.
Shout out to Jaden McDaniels. He's finally playing good offensively for some stretches of the season after a goddamn disastrous start to the year where I lost a lot of money after everything I invested into Jaden McDaniels stock. I put a lot of zeros into the stock that he'd make an offensive leap with the ball in his hands. My God, did that age horribly.
Nice.
We're coming up a little bit. We're not going to the moon like we once thought we were, but we might break even.
Breaking even. They're paying the loan sharks back. You're all right.
Yeah.
You're
my knees might not get broke.
That was close. Holy shit. Yeah, McDaniels. It truly is. I don't know if promising or a relief is the word if you're a Timberwolves fan, but it's just finally, because he has had these flashes for a while, and maybe this is just another in a long line of 15, 20 game stretches where he looks really serviceable offensively, but that's one of the things that stood out to me last postseason when their season ended was that if he's going to be unplayable on offense, not quite that caliber of defender to justify that. He can't be a zero and then be out there. I mean, it's really hard to be. Even, Vanderbilt couldn't do that. I don't think Gobert is a zero on offense, but you see that argument made about him all the time.
You don't want a zero on offense to any degree. It doesn't matter how good they are. You don't really want to see a zero on offense in any regard.
And what I would say is promising about McDaniels is that I know over the last 15, he's averaging 16, 17 points per game, whatever, only shooting 32% from 3. And so I feel like that is a little, obviously you want him to be able to shoot, but the fact that you can't just boil it down to hey, variance, the threes are going in now or whatever. And that's why his offense looks so much better. Overall, that's probably promising for his progression as a player, if that makes sense.
He's currently shooting 55% from long mid-range on the season. Now, granted, it's 33 attempts, so it's not very much, but he is a dagger from long mid-range.
Domantas Sabonis 50% from 3 type volume.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hell yeah, dude.
Okay,
that rocks.
Let's go to the other team in that game I mentioned from last night. Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's set the standard up top. They are obviously going in the tier as the best, right?
Yes. They're the top. They're the standard. I really didn't even write anything down about them because it's just like a given at this point. Like everything about them has oozed separate level of team from the rest of the conference, really.
Yeah, I'm at the point where, again, I know the Celtics exist. Respect to them. Fully understand that they are very good now, despite the little bit of fall off from last year. They're still extremely good. Could very reasonably be your favorite to come out of the East, despite how good the Cavs have been. Yes. I fully understand this. I will be shocked if the OKC Thunder don't win the finals, personally.
Yeah, I don't know about shocked. I do like...
I'll be fucking flabbergasted.
I'll be blown away. Oh my God. It'll be the biggest failure in the history of basketball. No, I don't believe to that degree, but I do believe it would be a failure if they don't at least have like a competitive finals series. Yeah. I would feel like I've been deceived by the caliber of regular season that they've had, you know?
Yeah. If they don't win the finals, it'll be because the Celtics are just like solidifying themselves as like one of the defining teams of the last 20 years, which like could totally happen. They could have the level of just like just turning it on for the playoffs that people currently project them to have. Mm-hmm. I'm a little skeptical on applying that logic to just any defending champ because they're the defending champ, but that could happen. Outside of that,
when has that ever backfired? When has it ever backfired to come into a season and be like, hey, they won the title, they have this sick ass player, they'll probably just do it again.
Who knows? Maybe the last 5 years in a row, but who knows?
Yeah.
But the Oklahoma City Thunder are just a truly astounding team. I think they have the best collection of perimeter defensive talent that I've seen in my time as an NBA fan. Let's say the last 20 years. That's fair. When you look at Dort, J-Dub, Cason Wallace, Caruso, Shea as your top 5 perimeter on-ball defenders, truly legendary group. Helps a lot also to have a DPOY level rim protector behind them. Mm-hmm. Helps a lot also to have your offense anchored by the MVP of the league potentially.
Probably.
Like, I don't even... Putting them in the tier as the best, it feels light. You know, like, it feels like this... Yeah. In a normal year, if the Celtics didn't win last year, let's say the Bucks won last year. They got the shit together. They won last year. Whatever. It's a team that isn't necessarily, like, coming off a season where it feels like they're definitely going to win again. Mm-hmm. We would be talking about them as the most confident we have in a contender in a long time. They check every box.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think especially part of the thing that you're describing to me is just the fluidity of the rest of the conference. I feel like everyone heading into this year was like, the West is going to be a bloodbath. I definitely was spouting that a lot, that the West is going to be an absolute fucking slaughterhouse. It's going to be really tough to make it out of the Western Conference, and there will just be a lot of extremely high-level teams. While I still think the West is handily the more talented conference, it's just been a lot of flux in that regard. Yeah. The Grizzlies have been great, but they haven't been spearheaded by a player that you don't feel like they'd have the best player in a series by any capacity. The Nuggets have been kind of up and down. The Lakers, the Warriors, like all of these good teams, top to bottom, the Rockets, you don't have super solid feelings about. So then when you get to the top of the conference and you're like, oh yeah, they're the best by a mile. They'll probably have the best player in any series they match up against, or like one of the two best players. They're incredibly deep. They're incredibly talented. And it would just take a lot to beat them. They haven't let someone score 30 since like December. Like one individual player hasn't scored 30 against them since I think December 15th. I didn't even know that stat. Yeah, dude.
That's outrageous.
It's crazy. So I'm totally on board with all the defense shit you said as well. And it's insane that Chet hasn't even played that much. He's played, has he even played 20 games yet?
Dude, I saw a stat earlier. I'll find it up while I'm talking. But it was their net rating since January 1st. And it's just outrageous. They have like a 98 defensive rating and like 116 offensive rating. It's like a plus 20 swing since January 1st. And in that time, Chet missed 19 games. Hardenstein missed 6 games. So-and-so missed so many games. It was like a rundown of all the injuries they've had. And they just keep on chugging. Last night in this game against the Timberwolves that we're talking about, this is the first game since Chet's been back that I really feel like we've seen the vision with these two big lineups where Isaiah Hardenstein's playmaking, pushing the ball in transition, doing all the short roll passing stuff, plus Chet being able to be the play finisher in the dunker spot from the corner and running as like a...
And from 3, really.
He had 4 threes. Mm-hmm. I saw it all come together for the first time in these 5 games he's been back. And I'm like, dude, this is like the fucking tip of the iceberg of what this two big lineup's going to look like. once we get 20 more games of this under their belt and they have this to go to, and then when it doesn't work against certain matchups, they just go to Chet as a solo big and then Hartenstein the bench minutes. Like the fucking versatility they're going to have from across their entire lineup, but even just with those bigs, I just don't know if there's any other advantage that a team can look to and say this is going to give us another level in the playoffs that we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah. And is there any team that's more insulated for injury? Really?
Exactly.
Like injury to Shea, J-Dub, Chet, Hartenstein, it would be big. It would be really big. But like any team gets their best players injured, it's going to matter. But as far as like role player depth goes, they are bringing like 11th men off the bench that would like change. They would change its lives. It would change the Lakers' lives. It would it's just an incredibly deep, talented team where it's just like, oh, Aaron Wiggins at 30 tonight. Cool. Just another throw it on the pile.
Could you imagine the fucking PR Case and Wallace would have if he played for the Lakers?
Oh my God.
Gary Payton reincarnated, locked down. Alex Caruso, who? Case and Wallace would be a household name if he was on the Lakers or Knicks.
And I'm glad. Okay, yeah. So they're the best, and I'm glad we're talking about him now because when I was doing my ranking, this is like it's the standard. You have to hold them to this idea. Can they beat the Thunder in a series, or how close would they come to beating the Thunder in a series? That's really what I was thinking about. Because if you want to talk about like, can the Lakers Nuggets is a big one, but can the Lakers beat the Warriors? Warriors beat the Lakers. Rockets beat the Grizzlies. All this stuff. None of it matters unless you're confident that they could take the Thunder in a series. And that's where it gets really difficult. That's where you have to be an incredibly good team to even start that discussion.
Okay, so we got tier 1 and tier 3 set. Let's talk about that. Somebody who I think is firmly in tier 2. Let's move over to the Denver Nuggets.
Oh,
to me, they're obviously I'm dangerous, right?
Yes.
Firmly tier 2. What do you feel? Okay, so give me what sets them in tier 2 and not tier 1 or tier 3? Why do you feel like they're in between the Timberwolves and Thunder?
Okay, so tier 2. So I think they're above tier 3 strictly off talent for the most part.
Yeah. I wonder who makes this talent.
Literally the best player in the world. Last game, not canon. Gimmick defense doesn't count. But the rest of so they're spearheaded by the best player in the world, Jokic. When we talk about Shea and maybe being one of the two best players in a matchup, it's really if he's going against like Jokic, he might be the second best player in the matchup. But beyond that, he'd probably be number 1. And so beyond that, you have like 6 really solid guys and hopefully an incredible number 2 option Jamal Murray, trending in the right direction kind of before the All-Star break. In the few games, like he wasn't great against the Lakers or whatever, but he scored 30 multiple times for the standard that he set for himself in the first few months of the season. That's fucking miraculous. And so
he's back for sure.
And so like top end talent, really good, incredibly dependable, one of like the most consistent offensive playoff risers in the history of basketball in Jokic, and a pretty straightforward recipe for winning. You don't have to imagine like a ton of shit going right for them. It's just there are specific matchups where it's like, they're not as good as they have been defensively. I think the ceiling on this team defensively, it's not really that much higher than what we've seen over the course of the year. They're not really adding any good perimeter defenders through like people coming back from injury. You have like Peyton Watson and shit, sure, but he's not going to be like a 30-minute guy in a playoff series or anything.
Their ceiling defensively is below average. Their ceiling is like, can they be a bottom 5 defense in the playoffs and not bottom 2? I think that's the range of outcomes.
Can we survive? Can we survive on defense to make our offense good enough? And for most of the playoffs, for most of the teams that are going to be, below tier 2, for all of the teams below tier 2, really, I feel like that would be fine, that approach. But for the other teams in tier 2, and then obviously OKC up top, that approach gets pretty dicey.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about them in combination with the Lakers so we can address this game that happened in which my team just beat the piss out of your team.
Yeah,
and
let's do it.
You texted me and you were like, I think you're the Antichrist and I think we should put stakes in your hands.
I specifically said Austin Reeves was the Antichrist. Isaac's cool. Like, that's fine. But Reeves, I just couldn't fucking handle it. I can't watch it. It's terrible.
I thought it would be better if you didn't get the heat of who was actually at. But there you go. You volunteered the information. You said you wanted Austin Reeves on a spike. And I was like, I get it. Because if that was the third option, I had to watch my team defend, I would be stressed as well. And in this game, You tweeted during this game that the Lakers are a lot closer to title contention.
I didn't say a lot. I didn't say a lot. I said closer. This was a distinction that I was super confused about because, okay, so my take on the Lakers right now.
They're also in I'm dangerous, right? We can say
yes, firmly tier 2. The Lakers are in I'm dangerous tier. The thing that I walked away from that game feeling like was so Luka probably in the Jokic Shea tier of like, do you have the best player in the playoff series?
Well, duh.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, this version of him, like coming off of the injury.
He's still rusty. You're right. You're right. Probably not yet.
So yeah, like that, he's probably going to be in that tier. And then you will probably have 2 of the 3 best players in the matchup because you'll have LeBron as well and locked in. Like, he's better than, J-Dub or Chet or whoever the Thunder are throwing out there at 2. And sure, maybe they get overwhelmed talent-wise further down the roster. But at the top of it, they're completely overwhelming. And then, so, yeah, I think they felt a little closer to the Nuggets after that game. And now I really don't know what to think because at the same time, we've got every single report after the game has been like JJ Redick or whoever being like, oh, thank God we beat him. Oh my God. Like I was thinking about that for a month and it's like, that's fair because it's a serious matchup that if you're the Lakers, it instills a lot of confidence in you to win. I don't think it's like gimmicky to take that matchup seriously, but at the same time, 7-game series, if you don't get the benefit of like punching the Nuggets in the mouth, does that small ball work 7 or 4 out of 7 times? Which it definitely could. What do you think?
I've never done drugs before.
Okay. Fucking nerd. Oh my God. Hey, keep going. Sorry.
Listening to JJ Redick talk after this game is what I imagine an addict feels doing crack for the first time.
Okay, I've never done crack, so that's that's fair. That's fair. I suppose so. Yeah.
I am unbelievably in on JJ Redick, and I tweeted, thank God Dan Hurley played the Lakers for a pay raise from UConn and wasn't serious.
Yeah.
Thank God we got the second option, JJ Redick, because the game plan he put in to defend Nikola Jokic in this game was obviously masterful. It's been covered a lot. Thinking Basketball did a great video on it, where essentially the game plan was, don't let him get in the paint. We're going to deny the shit out of the ball from Jokic in a way that is just outlandish of how much we're going to swarm him with guys. We're going to front him every time in the post. Help when he's not touching the ball and like completely ice him out. Help when he touches the ball, throw doubles, and fully commit to just like not letting him get into the painted area to get his floater game off. You were tweeting frustration about like, why is he doing his I'm not going to shoot gimmick? Because JJ Redick did his I'm not going to let him shoot gimmick. And it worked to perfection.
Well, part of it is just he could have shot some of those shots that ended up being Russell Westbrook shots. And that was frustrating to watch.
Sure. And to me, that was a good game plan put into place. And it fully makes me incredibly optimistic about what the Lakers are going to get out of this season, despite not going through with the Mark Williams trade and having a center room that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
The center room, the Lakers are the friends made along the way. Jackson Hayes is playing good. He's playing really well. He can hold it down as a starting center. Clearly, it's fine. Yeah. The small ball looks good with DFS and Rui Hachimura playing these like small ball bigs. I don't normally like that type of play style from bigs that aren't like Draymond Green, that aren't like actually great interior defenders.
No, it's a gimmick when it's Hachimura doing it, but it has worked well.
It's a gimmick, but when you have Luka Doncic and LeBron James on the court at the same time with them, that gimmick can fucking work because the offensive talent is just it beats you into submission.
Yeah.
The whole Denver Nuggets strategy defensively is we're going to put Jokic at the top of the screen, basically trap every time he's in a ball action because we don't want him to play drop because that's terrible for him. Mm-hmm. You can do that and rotate behind that in a normal circumstance, and you can try to force the other team into enough misses, enough bad decisions that your offense is going to be able to win that shootout, right?
Yes.
You cannot do that when you're defending Luka Doncic and LeBron James, who are the two best corner skip passers of all time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're going to defend them consistently enough, and if JJ Redick is going to have good defensive game plans to make the most out of his talent, I'm very optimistic of what the team can do.
Yeah. And so this goes back to what I was saying before, where like everybody in tier 2, I was thinking about playing each other, and then we get up to tier 1, and I'm like, oh fuck, I lost all my momentum, you know? Like we were doing it was so sick, and like if the Lakers come out of that fucking Nuggets series, oh my God, it would be extremely exciting for LA. But then it does feel like at some point Like, I don't know if they could beat the Thunder with this current setup. I think the talent at the top would be sick, and it would give them a run for their money and everything. But yeah, once you get down to like, I don't know, what is Vanderbilt, like their 7th guy at this point?
Maybe more like 8th, because they have DFS off the bench. They have Gabe Vincent, who's been playing well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, maybe 8th. Yeah.
But like, again, go back to what we were talking about, fucking Isaiah Joe is getting 10 minutes a game or something, and it's like, cool. Yeah, so when talking about them against OKC, very nervous. When talking about them against everybody else, it feels like all of the matchups are well within the range that just Luka and LeBron being so good, and the top 8 being serviceable. It's not like it's Luka, LeBron, and garbage. It's a pretty solid 7-8 man rotation. It's just, for sure, they are handcuffed kind of to the small ball idea in some degree.
Yeah, and there was too much about the Lakers defense being so pitiful they can't survive or anything, because people they had been so mid for so many years that, but even this year too, beginning of the year, people kind of just were resigned to the fact that the Lakers weren't serious as previously constructed. Mm-hmm. And since January 1st, they have been a top 3 defense consistently, with or without Anthony Davis. A large part of that is Jerry Vanderbilt coming in. A large part of that is trading for Dorian Finney-Smith. Mm-hmm. A large part of that is just in general having better talent for the switch-all scheme that JJ Redick wants to, employ.
Yeah.
They've been much better than this outright horrible defense that people have assumed they're going to be because of the big man group. That, when you have clearly the best 2 players in most series, a better than expected defense, and just a lot of players that you can expect to continue to perform in a playoff setting, as led by Luka Doncic, who's a playoff riser every single year, I'm comfortable saying they're the second most dangerous team in the conference. I won't go as far as to say they're better than the Thunder, because all the reasons we said before, they're the best by far. But if you want to tell me that the Lakers are number 2 in the West, despite the small sample size we've seen, I'm inclined to agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't like dig my heels in on it or anything. It's just, so I wrote like questions for all of like the good teams. Once we get down to some of the bad teams, like I didn't ask anything about them. But one of the questions about the Lakers is like, I just want to see the sample size get bigger, and they have I think the 3rd hardest remaining schedule in the NBA, and so I'm sure there will be like some here or there. LeBron has to rest or Luka has to manage it, whatever. So we're not going to get like every primetime matchup full strength versus full strength. But I there will be like key matchups you're looking towards over the end of the season to be like, the Nuggets win was great. I want to see them consistently perform at that level. And then also like, I don't know, dropping the Hornets game is not the most canon thing in the world. But you just like, you want to see them spend this final 25 games really rolling. You don't want to go into the playoffs kind of confused about anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we're 4 teams in now, 35 minutes in. So I guess one might say we had to speed things
today,
up.
Baby.
Let's do some of the other teams that aren't in the top. We're doing every team in the conference here, not just every contender.
Okay.
Let's do, where are we putting the Spurs post Victor Wembanyama trade? Very unfortunate injury. Get well soon, Wemby. Blood clots are no joke. All the reporting is saying you're going to be fine. So hope that goes well for you. I'm very glad your team has to tank now. I won't lie.
It's so funny to be like, yeah, it's so serious. I'm sorry. This is terrible. And then you're like, what do you think? And I have to be like, you disgust me, because that's the tier name. But I do think we're moving in disgusting directions down in San Antonio, which is good.
Let's make them their own tier then. Let's make them their own tier that just says like R.I.P. Wemby. Actually, no, that's not R.I.P.
He's got a Jesus. LA's on fire. Wemby's dead. This is crazy, guys. Oh my god. No. So
let's give their own tier.
Yeah. So I think
no Wemby, no wins.
Yeah, no Wemby, no wins. I think this is good for them. So like the Wemby blood clot thing is terrifying, and like if he's unable to play basketball anymore, it would be probably the biggest sports event of my lifetime, because I believe in Wemby as an individual that much. But like spending one more year getting a sick ass lottery pick in a pretty good draft, I'm not mad at that at all. Especially considering Fox also gets to have surgery on a hand that was bothering him more than likely.
Yeah, so there's silver lining situation. It sucks. You'd rather have Wemby get playoff experience and be able to do things and like play out this kind of thing you want.
I never feel like I come out on the other side of like they got playoff experience feeling any. I would rather just get like Dylan Harper or somebody.
I was going to say that. I said, I understand the sentiments. Give me the top pick. It's going to put them in an amazing position. I'm fine with it. I actually do think last year the Thunder, that playoff experience was needed because they saw that J-Dub and like him being the second thing was a problem. But I'm very okay with it long term. The Spurs have this setback in terms of like their team outlook. Not much to talk about outside of that. Get well soon, Wemby.
Yeah, I'm fine with giving them their own little tier down there.
Where do you want to put the New Orleans Pelicans? Man, by Zion Williamson being the lightest he's been in his career reportedly, playing extremely well. In his last 10 games, he's averaging more points than he is minutes, which is always a nice sign to see. He's fully back. The team also still fully sucks. They're 2-8 in those 10 games. Yeah. So elite Zion does nothing for their chances of winning games because they're still absolutely horrible. They disgust me, I think.
Oh, okay. I was gonna put hit the showers, bud, because it feels like
you're 14-43, man. You fucking disgust me. That's a disgusting record.
But Zion's so good. Oh man, it's like the concept of their team moving forward. Yeah, okay, they're disgusting. It's fine. Because like a lot of these sentiments I have are based on like pretty much just the idea of heading into next year healthy, which is not what we're talking about right now. And so, tangible stuff right now. Disgusting team. Sorry, Trey. Yeah, sorry, Trey Murphy.
If we're gauging their level of play and how good each team is, listen, you're the worst team in the Western Conference. And I love Zion Williamson with all my heart. You get the silver lining. If I'm happy to see him playing well, and I hope he stays healthy like he is currently, it's similar to the Wemby thing where like there's a silver lining there. But in terms of a tier list of where you rank amongst the rest of the league as currently constructed, you are horrible. Shout out Zion. Shout out Trey Murphy. Shout out East Missy. Shout out CJ McCollum. Shout out Kelly Olynyk.
Shout out Herb Jones.
I like all of you guys.
Shout out Bruce Brown.
I wish Herb Jones was there to shout out, but he's not, which is part of the problem.
Shout out Smoothie King Center, man. Shout out everything. Let's go.
Outside of the names I said, they stink. They probably won't stink next year, but they currently just do not have the firepower, do not have any type of defensive infrastructure. I saw somebody tweet that said, we wanted Jokic, we got this, and there's a picture of Kelly Olynyk. I was like, damn, they don't know if they got Jokic Joestar.
Hey. Kelly Olynyk's good. I'll die on that hill. I agree. He's good. He's a dick. He tore fucking Kevin Love's arm off, but he's good at basketball. So yeah,
he is. So disgusting. Good for them. They'll be good next year. But they disgust me currently.
Who's next?
What do you want to do? So this is a team that is disgusting.
Okay,
but I don't know if they deserve that tier. Where do you want to put the Phoenix Suns?
Currently
I'll say 27-30, sitting the 11 seed. Looking like a good chance a team with Devin Booker or Kevin Durant will miss the goddamn play-in tournament.
Yeah, I would say hit the showers is cool with me.
Yeah.
And that's purely off of the Kevin Durant, Devin Booker aura. They've been a disgusting team for a while now. I would expect they're going to continue to be a disgusting team. Going back to the Lakers have the third hardest schedule. The Suns have the hardest schedule for the rest of the year. They play a ton of great teams coming up, and they've been bad.
So they're quintessential hit the showers, bud, because to me that just means your season's over. Like it's cooked.
Yeah.
Run through the motions. That's them. But in terms of what these words mean, there's never been a team that disgusts me more than them, I don't think. Like literally in the last 3 full seasons of me covering the NBA on various shows, I have not been as violently pissed at a team as I am the 2024-2025 Phoenix Suns. They bring a special type of rage out of me, which is rare for a team that I'm not a fan of. It doesn't make sense how violently mid they are. They are so bad, so uninspired, so uninteresting, so unmotivated on the court. Everything about them just makes you mad as a basketball fan who sees talent on the court that should be a certain level, and they just aren't in every way.
Yeah. And this goes in conjunction with like Kevin Durant probably getting traded this offseason. Like the vibes are kind of there. Like you don't watch these games and you're like, oh shit, this is, we're building camaraderie for next season or something. It just very much feels like they're trying to get the year done with. Over the last 3, they've played the Wemby-less Spurs, the Chicago Bulls, and the Toronto Raptors, and they have been over the 3 games. They've been outscored by 25 points, I believe. So, damn. Yeah, terrible teams, all 3 of those, and the Suns have just been borderline non-competitive in some of these games. It's just
and it's weird because it feels like Mike Budenholzer is a big part of the problem. And I had faith in him this year because I really, really, really respect Mike Budenholzer. When he got fired by the Bucks, I was like, I get the logic of why they feel the need to change. He's a good fucking coach. Good luck finding a better one. That was my thought process. So when he came to the Suns, like, I've talked about how wrong I was many times. I fully thought they'd be competent. I thought they'd be like the 5 seed. To see him continue to start Tyus Jones, despite being the worst starting point guard in the league because they promised a spot for political reasons, is disgusting. Like, I don't even know what to say about besides grow a pair and bench him. Like, I understand the promises made is a big part of the politics of the NBA. At a certain point, you got to get the fuck over it and try to save your season. It's abhorrent. The fact that they're defensively worse than they were last year. Shout out Frank Vogel. You were never the problem. You were never a problem with the Lakers. You were scapegoated clearly. Everything is worse about them now than it was last year. And I think part of that, and a big part, is just like the locker room. The team is just giving up because they know this version of the team is not going to be here next year. It wouldn't even be here right now if Bradley Beal didn't have a no trade clause.
Yeah. So yeah, hit the showers. It's tough because Kevin Durant playing sick basketball still. It doesn't matter. It's in the void.
Dude, there's a clip from local Phoenix Suns radio this morning where this guy was like, I miss the old Devin Booker. I talked to a lot of people around the team, and I hear the same thing. Kevin Durant was bad for Devin Booker. He's too cool for school has really rubbed off on Devin Booker. And I'm like, bro, that's where we're at with the media cycle of the Suns. Their local people are like, maybe Kevin Durant's a bad influence on this grown man. Maybe he makes him not care enough. Maybe we should get this toxic locker room person out of the picture. Like, they're so desolate.
Well, I mean, one of like the... I'm not going to speak to like his work ethic or anything, but just like one of the most consistent best players on the planet for essentially 20 years at this point. Kevin Durant tears his Achilles and is like an MVP level player for 7 more years. Kevin Durant is like, he's bad for the locker room. Kevin Durant. Whatever, man. Yeah.
Terrible spot, man. All right, let's get back to a good team.
Okay.
Where do you want to put the Memphis Grizzlies?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Currently at the 2 seed, tied with the Denver Nuggets for the 3 seed, have a 2-game lead on the Lakers, 6-4 in their last 10 games. Ja Morant continues to play not great. Kind of hard to gauge right now because there's a lot of talk right now where I feel like they can go either way right now in terms of how people are thinking about them. A lot of people are noticing Ja Morant playing poorly. It's becoming a talking point now. So I think they're getting a lot of fraud.
It's because we talked about it, so we kind of broke the news.
They're getting a lot of like fraud allegations right now, and like any team who sees them in the first round, lick your fucking chops.
Yeah, they're not the frauds in the West. There's a team we could get to in a little bit. I don't think it's them. I'm struggling. Okay. I think you know what? Fuck it. I'll put them in. I'm dangerous. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like they earned I'm dangerous, right? Like they are still the 2 seed despite their issues. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to feel about the Ja Morant of it all because I do kind of believe they are low key and easy lick if the right team gets in the 7 seed. Like I am kind of on that side a little bit, but I also feel like they just simply win games and they've earned I'm dangerous. So I would 100% be a million times more scared of the Lakers or the Nuggets in a playoff series.
Yeah, maybe we could give them their own. They could be potentially dangerous. You want to do that? Where it's like
theoretically dangerous.
Yeah, theoretically, because like if Ja is
theoretical with them.
If Ja is Ja, they are dangerous. I would be like, I wouldn't want to play them because they are kind of Thunder light, where they're not nearly as good as the Thunder, but really solid 2-way team. And Jaren Jackson Jr. is having a career year and all that shit, and they just are incredibly deep. They're finding all these different ways to win. They're playing this kind of funky, weird offensive style. But a lot of those aspects to me scream that like you figured out a way to have a dominant regular season, but maybe those things matter less when it's, the playoffs. And it's like, okay, cool. You don't use ball screens. I have Luka Doncic. Which one of those is like heavier on the scales? Correct.
And like, we'll give them I'm dangerous, but they're, as of now, I think they're the weakest team and I'm dangerous just because I think they translate to the playoffs the worst. Like you said, cute offense that I really respect. It's worked really well to maximize the players on that team. If it's a tie game, 4th quarter, and I have Luka Doncic and LeBron James running a inverted pick and roll, and I have Luka Doncic either throwing the dimes to the corners, catching the ball in the short roll, doing all these creative things where one of the smartest players in the world are making the decision that will decide the game.
Yeah.
Other side of the court, you have Jaren Jackson in the high post and Santi Aldama attacking closeouts while Ja Morant flies into a center and takes a tough layup. Like,
well, if it's the Lakers, he flies into Rui Hachimura, but yeah.
Yeah, like, great. I hope that for him. It's hard to imagine that translates in high-stakes games when you have to really do shootouts with the other good teams. Now, granted, they do have an elite defense as well, which is nothing to overlook.
Yeah,
being
but like
10
when you
defense,
talk
top 10
about
offense is
LeBron
hard.
and Luka, it's like two of the biggest defensive solvers of all time, really.
Yeah. And again, and we can't really rank them just like on how much they can beat the Lakers. But I do think to make a playoff run, to be in I'm dangerous, you have to have like a ceiling of a Western Conference Finals. We have to have like feel comfortable to believe that you can really push and get to the point where you can face the Thunder in the conference finals. I'm the least confident in them getting there by far compared to these other two teams.
Yeah. And I don't mean to just put them up against the Lakers, but I would feel that way against like if it's Santi Aldama, like you said, like all these good players. They have an amalgamation of good players, and then on the other end, it's Jokic generating like a dunk, a layup, or a wide open three every single time. I have a lot more faith that the Grizzlies are going to make mistakes on the offensive end and get picked apart by this generational offensive player on defense. And so, just a lot of the matchups kind of break down in that way, where if you're not spearheaded by like a top 15, top 20-ish player, which I think Ja Morant kind of was the last time we saw him as like an all-star level guy. If you're not spearheaded by someone like that, I don't fear you as much. You're not scary, you know?
Yeah. A lot of this is like not intelligent analysis. It's not tangible. It's all like vibes based. But that is kind of tiebreaker sometimes. You know, like there is a reason that star players are often propelled in like playoff talks, because while I do reject a lot of the like show me the playoffs talk, there are certain trends that you can map out that translate to playoff basketball. It doesn't exist for no reason, and they lack a lot of those intangible buckets.
Yeah,
they're just so reliant on like offensive rebounding. They're ahead of everybody by a wide margin. That's obviously hard to translate when teams really prepare for it.
And transition, aren't they the number one transition team?
By far. That is exactly what they are.
Hey, these are themes that will come up again. Everybody remember those two things that we just talked about. I'll next time we talk about someone else, I'll bring them up.
Yeah, and shout out them. They're better. They're 13th in half-court offense instead of 22nd or 29th like they've been in the past 2 years. That is meaningfully better for playoff series. That is a lot more encouraging than what they had in the past whenever you just really could not imagine them going band for band in the half-court at all with other teams. I don't care. It's still tough to imagine them being able to compete the Thunder regardless. 13th or 22nd does not change my outlook on how much of a chance they have of beating OKC.
Yeah, I mean, especially dude, yeah, the Ja matchup with the perimeter, like you lay out that entire arsenal of like, Ja is already like a slider guy, like he's pretty skinny, and so he has to fucking fight through Lou Dort and Alex Caruso. Like he's on equal footing with like three of those guys. He's on like, you get down to Case and Wallace, then he's fighting a fair fight, but Case and Wallace is not going to be the first guy guarding him, and so it's it could happen. You know, they could give him a good series. I don't want to completely write the Grizzlies off, and that's why I'm putting them in dangerous tier. But
exactly.
I'm cool with like sedated, dangerous or whatever.
Jazz. Where do you want to go with the Jazz? You discussed me?
Yeah, I want them their own tier. I genuinely want the Jazz at the bottom. Like, I just want the Jazz below disgusting. Because I can find redeeming qualities in a lot of teams. I can't find it.
Arrest Ainge.
Hey, arrest Ainge, dude. He's crazy. I just... There's nothing redeemed. I don't like really any of their young players in a massive way. Like they have guys who I'm sure will be good in some capacity, but I don't think they'll be good anytime this year. And
fuck, I actually deleted the Wemby tier. God damn it.
Fuck. God. And so they're just, it's beyond disgusting. It's apathy. I don't feel anything towards them. And
that's a good way to praise it, apathy. Like they are so uninteresting. Their young core is like decent, I guess. They're getting there, but it's a very long, slow rebuild where they currently don't have a blue chip guy.
Are you a Keontae George guy? How does he make you feel?
Fuck no. I'm an Isaiah Collier guy though. I love Isaiah Collier.
Well, that's what I was going to say is like, even in the context of Collier, like literally the most assists in February so far, all this other shit, even in the context of that, I never want to turn on the Jazz. The Jazz are tied in the fourth quarter, and I'm like, I have to watch the Jazz. Fuck.
Yeah, it's not great. So we'll give them their own tier. Arrest Danny Ainge. Sure. Portland Trailblazers. They were firmly, you discussed me. Are you moved by their 6-4 last 10 games? It was a little bit better before that. Have they hit the showers, bud? Are they neck and neck with the Suns?
No. No, I'll just go with my gut here.
Nope.
No, probably not. I don't. It's cool, but like, yeah, they're pretty disgusting teams still, and disgusting in a way that kind of scares me. Where it's like, they feel like a team that's been rebuilding for so long and has amassed a certain like quota of players that people look at and they're like, yeah, I like that guy. And so maybe in their opinion, they're like turning the corner soon. And I don't feel like there's any like solid foundation of like super good young guys moving forward. There's just like a collection of solid prospects, and yeah. I'm cool putting them in disgusting. Shout out Tumani. Shout out Donovan Clingan. Shout out like the 15 good games of Scoot Henderson. But I'm just gonna go with my gut here. Put them in disgusting. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't give a shit.
Boom! Oh my god!
Like you said, I love Tumani Kamara and I love Donovan Clingan. Those guys are gonna be there for a long, long time. We need one of these guards to take the reins. We need either Shaedon Sharpe or Scoot Henderson to make this their team so things really come together, or we need them to draft Dylan Harper and finally get like the driving force of who's going to be running this team.
Well, that's why the wins are bad. I'm like, guys, calm down, because if you want a good player, we don't need to go 7-4 or whatever. It's scary.
Yeah, they also discussed me, but I'm also a little frustrated by that. But I think, again, I'm so happy with where they are minus the guy. Because once they get the guy, whoever that is, hopefully it's goddamn Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper, maybe VJ Edgecombe, whoever can be the star for this team. Mm-hmm. Having Tumani Kamara, Denny, and Clingan as like your three defensive helpers around your star player, it's going to be nice.
Flagg with that, like, that would be crazy. Like, just all these fucking good defensive wings. Yeah. So they're on the right track. I'm just... Yeah, there's the guy-sized hole at the center of them for me. So I'll put them in disgusting.
We're going to go with the Sacramento Kings.
Oh.
And how fast do they hit their showers?
Oh, brother. Hit the showers. Oh, man. Talk about just desolation, dude. Like, I don't know. Like, what you cook. What do you think about the Kings?
No, I think they should hit the showers immediately. I think whenever they traded for Zach LaVine, we came up here and regraded it. I said something along the lines of, I don't grade the Kings on the scale of a normal team. I grade them on a scale of a dumb team that wants to be mediocre. And if you want to be mediocre, I like Zach LaVine a lot. So I think talent-wise, removing De'Aaron Fox and putting in Zach LaVine keeps you probably relatively around the same lines, right? I said it doesn't fix any of their issues at all, but I think Zach LaVine's a good enough fit that they can probably do some similar version of what they've been doing and maintain play-in caliber team, right? But notice I said it doesn't solve any of their issues at all.
Yeah.
Correct. Nothing has changed about them. The weaknesses are still the weaknesses. Their defense has been worse, so I guess I overlook that part in terms of their ability to maintain being ass. Zach LaVine is awesome when he's not next to DeMar DeRozan. That's the biggest takeaway here. Kenny said it on the episode we graded it when he came here. He said he's wary of it because he watched every game with the goddamn Bulls when they had Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, and they're not good for each other. Yeah. He said, I want better for Zach. I don't want him to have to go back into the DeMar DeRozan gulag, and that's precisely where he's gone. This team low-key disgusts me because they rebuilt the Bulls in that way, and I just like hate mid. But they should probably hit the showers. Yeah, no, they just it's a long line of disgust where it's just like every move, it feels like we're just like, oh, okay, well that could maybe work, I guess. And then we get 20 games into the move and it's like, it's not working. Not at all.
Good. Which like that's, I mean, in reference to even the Sabonis move, they had a sick ass year. They had one dope year. Shout out to the Beam, but yeah, just we're so far away from even having to discuss like potential playoff shortcomings of Domantas Sabonis.
Exactly.
We haven't
even a single thing.
Yeah, we haven't even had to like crack open the can of like, oh, he can't protect the rim and he can't shoot. So like, does that put a ceiling on this team? The ceiling, we can't see it right now, man. We're too far down. Exactly.
And like realistically, if we're getting serious, like you said, terrible rim protection. They sell out on not letting you get to the rim because they know Sabonis won't stop anybody. So they give up too many threes and they don't take enough threes to offset that. And now that De'Aaron Fox is there, they lose their best table setter that can produce a shot at the rim consistently. So they're even more reliant on tough shot making. It's just gross all around. They wanted to put the ball in Malik Monk's hands to really be the point guard essentially while Zach LaVine can do his things. that hasn't worked better than just having De'Aaron Fox.
And now with that, you're locked into that decision. It's not an experiment you're running anymore. You don't get to be like, all right, Monk, back to the bench. We really like you as like a 16-6 guy off the bench. You're a great spark plug. You don't get to do that anymore. You moved Fox. He's the point guard now. And yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Probably nothing.
Yeah, no more Kings discourse. Hit the showers, bud.
Okay.
What do you got? We buried the lead here on one of the more interesting teams on this list that we have to discuss at great length.
Okay.
What do you currently think about the Golden State Warriors?
Dangerous. I'm dangerous.
I think they're very fucking dangerous. I guess dude. I'll tell you what I think, and then you let me know what you think.
Cook.
All year, I was not shy about how much I didn't believe in the Warriors, right? From the jump. To the dismay of Warriors fans from the jump of the season. I said, this is a playing level team at best. They kind of suck. And all year I said, I want them to get Jimmy Butler. I think he will be a fantastic fix for all their biggest woes. It will fit perfectly. And that was met with some, don't give up the future, blah, 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 blah. He's too old. Bunch of dumb bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. They finally got Jimmy Butler. I now think the Warriors are a top 5 team in the West. I think the Jimmy Butler edition is that fucking real. He makes them a threat. If I'm the Memphis Grizzlies and I see them in the first round, I'm horrified. Yeah. I think they would stomp the Grizzlies out right now. I think they would make slight work of the Rockets right now. I think outside of the Thunder, the Nuggets, and the Lakers, everybody should be scared of the Golden State Warriors. And even those last 2 teams I said, they should be a little bit worried. I think they can beat them, but they should be slightly fearsome.
Yeah, nothing's certain. If any of those 3 teams played each other, like that's what I spent most of this thinking about. It was just like, what would happen? Because I don't know. There's so many just like weird pros and cons to every single matchup. But the Warriors in a vacuum, yeah. The Jimmy trade, it's knocked it out of the park. I like a lot of it. I think my favorite thing about it was before the Jimmy trade, being one of the people who's like, Steph's not washed. Steph's not, he's good. They're just
surprise. Help has made him look like Steph again.
Yeah, and so post trade, it's like, oh shit, someone else can dribble the ball. The defense is looking at this other guy right now.
Lovely.
That's so cool. And so yeah, it's been incredible on both ends of the floor. There's just
during this stretch with Jimmy, they are number 1 in free throws drawn per game. So all the crying over the years from the Warriors fans, but we have a bad whistle. No, you have players who are bad at getting to the line, and now you have one who is amazing at it, and the numbers reflect that. That's going to make a big difference. We had some concerns about can he provide the play-by-play impact offensively of Wiggins. That was a real concern. Turns out having 2 genius-level defenders is better than having 1. It feels like there's 2 Draymonds out there sometimes. 2 of the smartest defenders in the world diagnosing plays is just incredibly difficult to deal with. I think they're going to lock teams down.
The aspect I forgot to factor in, because I was one of the people who was like, is a regular season Jimmy Butler, is that going to be this huge immediate impact? The thing I forgot to factor in is that it's not Miami regular season Jimmy Butler. It's now Jimmy Butler that Pat Riley has been like poking with a sharp stick for 3 months and being like, are you mad right now? You're so mad right now. And they fucking open the gates on that guy. And it's like, oh yeah, this is one of the best, most motivated players in basketball. He's a really high impact guy going both ways. And so, yeah, it's been so sick. Specifically, I just want to say him as a cutter off Draymond is such a fun look, dude. Yeah, it's so cool.
And now you're going to get Kuminga back, who I think is going to look better playing off of Jimmy Butler because he doesn't got to be a creator anymore. He can just be an elite finisher at the rim. You have a Quentin Post now who gives him a stretch 5 look. That's also going to be good for Kuminga. It's just the team is much better much better constructed to optimize Steph Curry, much better optimized to put a good team around Jonathan Kuminga, to help Draymond Green not be on his own defensively. Everything just makes a lot more sense for every player that matters on this team.
Yeah. I mean, like that's pretty much how I felt. You take everyone below Steph, and you just slot them down 1 in the depth chart, and all of a sudden it's like, oh no, this is a pretty good team. And so yeah, especially when you think about like playoff Jimmy Butler is almost like a cliche at this point, but like the last few times we've seen him in the postseason, if he could hit that level again, like that level of difficult shot making in big moments and super efficient volume scoring, they could take the Nuggets or the Lakers in a series. This is like an extreme. Their ceiling with this team is way up there, and so Yeah, they're dangerous.
Now, I don't think their bench is good enough for me to be like they can beat the Lakers or they will beat the Nuggets, like predict over those guys. But it's certainly going to be a series that comes down to like matchups and who performs on that day. Like it won't be a pushover or anything like that. And it's probably overzealous for me to say they're better than the Grizzlies, better than the Rockets, just because sample size. But I kind of just feel okay making that claim. And like maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe they come down to earth. So be it. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's more likely that the team that has Curry and Draymond and help is good rather than it being fake.
I don't really feel like there's not that much here that feels like super volatile post-trade bump type shit. Maybe leading the league in free throws, I guess. Maybe that's like it'll be less real, but Jimmy will always be like a very high free throw guy. But like nobody's shooting particularly well right now. It's not like you look down the roster of these 6-7 games and it's like Podziemski 40%, Draymond 40%. It's a bunch of outside of like Steph and Post, like you said. I think Draymond's shooting like 8%. Jimmy's shooting like 20%. These guys are not the variance isn't necessarily like completely swinging their way right now, and they still look like a super high level basketball team. So
like Jimmy's not like taking over games in an unsustainable way, like you said. He's doing very little. Like in terms of like ball in his hands, I'm taking over the game and putting my imprint on it. He's just doing all the small stuff necessary to make everybody better. And it makes just enough of a difference in a lot of key areas. They're just enough better defensively. They're just enough better rebounding. They're just enough better cutting, just enough better passing, all these things that add up to make them meaningfully better in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm cool putting them dangerous.
Okay. Let's talk about some decent playoff teams now, since that tier currently only has one team in it.
I know. I was like, fuck. Somebody has to be mid, Someone has to be decent.
You know who it is? The Los Angeles Clippers. Welcome to decent playoff team. You are the definition of decent. I respect the Clippers a lot. I think what they've done this year with the hand they've been dealt is nothing short of amazingly impressive. Mm-hmm. Shout out Norman Powell having the career year. Shout out Zubac being the most underrated big man in the entire NBA. Shout out Harden pulling every bit of offensive production he can out of himself every single night. Shout out Kawhi coming back and playing basketball. That's, something to applaud. Mm-hmm. All of it's come together to make them very impressive. Currently the 6th seed. Very decent. That's the ceiling. Is decent. The fact they've gotten to decent with what they've been dealt is impressive. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, it's decent.
I do feel like by the end of this, they'll be the strongest team in this tier. I mulled over them for a while where...
So you think there's a chance they could be dangerous?
I think healthy Kawhi, oxymoron as it is, it's fake, it doesn't exist, it's whatever you want to say about it. If they are spearheaded by a high-level two-way player, efficient like 27, 5, and 5 with really difficult shot making or whatever, I still don't know if they would be I'm dangerous, but they would almost justify having their own tier because I definitely think that team is better than decent given how good they are defensively and given given like the capacity of Norm Powell to take over games on the offensive end, where even like Harden, the scoring kind of come and go at this point. Like I'm like his playmaking and the whole engine thing is really impressive to me. But if we went into the postseason right now, I wouldn't be counting on him to have like an efficient series. But I do think you could get like an incredible postseason series out of Norm Powell with the way he's played this year. And so,
I think honestly, you said you kind of framed it like if you get a healthy Kawhi, maybe they can be dangerous. If they had like peak version of Kawhi, which whatever his peak looks like now, post injuries and whatnot, like if they got the very best out of him, which is some approximation of what it was last year, certainly I'm dangerous.
Yeah, and that's what makes what's 51%
effective field goal percentage on the year. He's been back. He's been there. He's looked solid. He's been pretty much worse from every spot on the court. 68% at the rim instead of 74. 43% from mid-range instead of 50, 38% from 3 instead of 42. He's about 10% worse everywhere, and I think you feel that.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't put down the cup. I can't put down the cup. With Kawhi, I can't, man. I'll be singing the praises of healthy Kawhi until I'm delirious, until I'm 80 years old and my kids are like, what? Fuck,
the tales of 2019 Kawhi. The tales of 2021 Kawhi will be told
His
forever.
hands were huge. His hands were the size of a car. You don't get it, guys.
He could palm a basketball so easy.
Yeah, oh my God. He didn't smile when he dunked. It was so cool.
The aura.
Oh my God. Yeah, but
they're very decent.
decent playoff team with like what will happen, the actually going to happen. Yeah, decent.
What do you want to do with the Mavericks? Like, they're so like in the air. Like, I don't know. Like, is Anthony Davis going to play again? If Anthony Davis plays again and they're healthy,
they're dangerous.
That's a decent playoff team at worst. I'm dangerous at best.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're soft launching it. AD might be out for the season. They just don't want to admit it yet.
Yes, same. That's what I wrote down. Is that So I went to the injury report from the Warriors-Mavs game the other day, and the official stance of the team was there's no official like projected date for Anthony Davis's return, but they expect him to play again, which even at face value, I don't love. But
what the fuck does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
Yeah. But especially in the context of like brand new team, you will probably be figuring out how to play not only without this generational offensive engine in Luka, but big guys playing next to each other. Lively playing off of Anthony Davis isn't like immediate seamless
you need time
fit.
to adjust.
Yeah. And so if you have 5 games to do that before the playoffs, I'm more comfortable putting them decent, even though talent wise, I want them to be dangerous. Like it feels good, but the timetable is too short.
Yeah, I think with everything you said, there's no way we can go I'm dangerous. I'm not really inclined to consider that. It's more so like, are we so worried about this that we go hit the showers, bud, because they just won't have enough time to do anything serious? Like, that's the conversation I'm having. I'm okay with giving them credit and putting them in decent teams just because Anthony Davis isn't ruled out yet, so I guess we shouldn't treat him as ruled out. But I don't know. It kind of feels like they're lying.
Yeah, I guess. If Anthony Davis doesn't play again, it is hit the showers, bud. But at the same time, they're just so good at power of friendship pilled wins that could keep them in position for an Anthony Davis return. That I'm like, anything's possible. But I'll give them decent right now. It's
there's not even much really good to We can't really talk too much about the on-court product because the games we're watching right now are just entirely irrelevant. If
Max
they don't
Christie,
have Anthony Davis,
the realest hoops of all time.
Shout out Max Christie. It is real. He's good. That is so real. I love Max Christie. He is incredibly real.
I saw a Lakers fan killed me online the other day because they were like, God, I wish there was a way we could have kept Christie in the deal because he was.
I wish that too.
Yeah, I'm sure, dude. I bet you wish you could have kept Anthony Davis too. It's like this is greed, people. This is a fucking card. They
didn't want Dalton Connect? I don't know. I mean, he's younger.
I guess.
Actually, maybe he's not.
He's almost certainly older. That's his defining characteristic. Yeah, he's older than Mark Williams, dude. I bet he's older than Christie.
It's his defining characteristic is being old.
He's fucking 40. Of course he's good. Nah, shout out Dalton Connect, man.
He's damn near our age. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So what did we say? Decent? Or do you want to do you feel strongly about the showers one, or do you want to
I don't know. I mean, they can be decent. I'd like to hold out hope that Anthony Davis isn't cooked for the season because if he never got hurt, they would easily be decent at worst. So I'm okay giving them a little bit of hopium.
Okay, that's fine. Who's next?
Who's next is the last team on this list. The only team we haven't talked about.
Oh shit!
Your favorite team in the conference, the one that you told me behind closed doors, you think they have finals odds.
Oh, whoa, okay.
The Houston Rockets. Where do they belong?
Oh, I will give them decent playoff team.
You don't think they're dangerous?
No. So what?
Nope.
when we talked about the Grizzlies earlier, and I said we'll come back to this. We'll come back to depending on the offensive glass to produce and depending on transition to produce. I associate both of those things much more with the Houston Rockets than I do with the Grizzlies, even though the numbers don't. I mean, the Grizzlies are leading the league in both, so the numbers don't agree with me there. But I do really worry about the Rockets' ability to just generate okay offense in a half-court setting in the playoffs. I'm not a Jalen Green guy. I've become less of a Şengün guy with almost every game this season. He is not. I don't feel like we're gearing up for the Şengün legacy playoff run or anything. Shout out to Amen Thompson, but I don't think he right now is a super built for the playoffs type of guy. And while I think the defense will maintain, I think they will be a tough team to score on. I think the moment that they encounter a team that can reliably score on them, it won't look great.
Yeah, I guess we can go decent playoff team. For a large chunk of the season, they were the 2 or 3 seed, so we had that like, listen, they've earned it, like we have for the Grizzlies. They're down to 5 after a rough stretch. I almost feel inclined to give them I'm dangerous because they've been so good throughout the season, but I would be lying if I said I had any amount of confidence in them in the playoff series. Like, not only are they reliant on offensive rebounding, like you said, not only are they 26th in half court offense, which is worse than the Grizzlies ever were with a healthy Ja.
Mm-hmm.
The volume of crashing the glass and putback is astounding. Like, they're number one right now in putback plays per miss. Mm-hmm. So that means essentially a lot of plays they miss a shot in the half court setting and are getting multiple offensive rebounds, multiple putback attempts, and just playing volleyball under the rim. It's awesome. It's cool. It's unique that they've managed to be good despite their lack of half court talent and playing such a unique style in a time in which there's so much moaning and groaning about every NBA team plays the same.
They play different. I'll give them that.
Goddamn right they do. They are sledgehammers. And I find it commendable that they've made the most out of what they have. We all thought they'd be like the 8th seed or something this year, which would be respectable. No one saw top 5 because no one saw them being by far the most bang for your buck you could imagine with the talent they have in this way.
Mm-hmm.
Commendable. Good for you. I'm Udoka. Shout out you. There's no fucking way in hell that translates to a playoff series, like against any good team. Like right now, if they played the Lakers in the first round, I would feel so confident as a Lakers fan.
Well, yeah, like I don't know how you wouldn't. Like it's just, and that's to go back to like the 2 best defense solvers in the league. Yeah, I don't have faith that they would be able to like match LeBron and Luka, even like 1 for 2, bucket for bucket. Like they wouldn't be able to score every other time that the Lakers scored, I feel like. And to even speak to your point about like the offensive rebounding per possession or whatever, where they're playing volleyball, to me it often feels like they put up a shot just to get it on the rim. And I do feel like visually when you watch the Grizzlies, that's something that separates them, is like the Grizzlies generate a pretty solid look and then they're active. They get the offensive rebound and they keep going or whatever. The Rockets are just like Van Vliet, 30-foot bomb. Let's get this board, baby. And and it works sometimes, but I would not have faith in it working, 4 times in 7 games against a great opponent.
Yeah, like they can win a first round series. I don't think they can win a second round series straight up. And if I don't in my heart believe you can win a second round series, I can't reasonably say you're dangerous. I can't reasonably put you next to the fucking Nuggets in the same tier. Like that's ridiculous. Yeah. And you mentioned not being a Sengun guy. I am well known not a Sengun guy amongst people that listen to our show. And I haven't really said anything this year because I'm like, listen, the team's doing well. Shout out him. Get your all-star nod. The team deserves an all-star, so he got it.
Oh, my God.
His interior scoring has been even worse than it was last year. And my biggest issue was the defensive side. He's made defensive strides this year that everyone's giving him credit for. Shout out. If that comes at the expense of offense and now he can't make layups, I'm like, dude, I want to feel better about you. I want to project you to be a building block this team should build around and like, I want to be able to say you can build a contender on Alperen Sengun. He's making it so hard for me to give him credit.
Yeah. I've never felt like you could build a contender on him, and I certainly don't now. Where it's just like, I do think we're seeing, maybe this is fake. Maybe this is the pendulum swinging the bad way, and he'll start making a lot of layups or whatever. I don't think this version truly super representative of who he is as an offensive player.
It has to be. Like, he has to get better in some regard. You can't judge anybody at their absolute lowest like he's been these last few weeks. But the highs aren't super high. Like it's not like he's been super efficient as a scorer. Last year he had a 55% effective field goal percentage. Mm-hmm. He doesn't shoot threes and isn't above league average efficiency despite that as a big man. And he's not some mind-blowing passer. The defense has been better, but he's not Chet Holmgren. He's not out here leading a team defensively and blocking all these shots and really being the core of why your defense is good. I don't know what the defining part. Like he's a very good shot creator in terms of drawing attention and keeping the ball moving for others. That's not the most promising skill set on its own to build around when the other stuff hasn't come around.
Yeah. We were at the point where like his defense was bad. He would have to be like a transformational offensive player. I feel like his defense is good enough that like, he would just have to be a pretty damn good offensive player.
Yeah.
But we are a long ways from that. What he's playing right now it's just the efficiency does really jump out at you, but also I don't know, for a guy with the baby Jokic title, the playmaking, it's not what you think it is when you tune into all the games. So
and like it's weird because the playmaking is like imperative to how they play offense because they run a lot of stuff through him in the post, him drawing too and keeping it moving. But it's not. It's a score and gravity thing rather than a passing skill thing, which matters. It matters, but when the scoring itself isn't good, the gravity only gets you so far. And I feel like in a playoff setting, teams will realize that. And if they played a smart coach, like I feel like JJ Redick would notice, hey, let's just not send two with this guy and let him post up and try to beat us every single play. Because it'll work. He'll get better numbers than he does now when we don't double him. But a Alperen Sengun post-up offense isn't going to go band for band with any competent offense led by like Luka Doncic or Jokic or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't mean to fucking end it on such a negative note. Because again, I do like the Rockets and I think they're trending upwards and I love Amen and all this other stuff. Shout out to Tari Eason. But yeah, just a team that is built in a way that I haven't like. It would go against everything I know about basketball if they made a deep run. Like if they
they're ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
So this year isn't like a failure. They weren't supposed to be this good. All the young players you said are very promising. I'm not like out on them in their future or anything. They weren't supposed to be good right now. And surprise, surprise, I don't think they're that good. But it's still a win overall.
Yeah. Okay. So decent playoff team. Do you have anything else?
I have. That concludes our tier list.
Hey,
recap.
Wow.
In tier 1, best of the best, tier of the room, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, clearly. I'm dangerous. We got the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, and the Warriors. That feels right to me.
Yeah.
Decent playoff team. We got the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Mavericks, and the Rockets.
Okay.
Feels right to me.
Yeah.
Hit the showers, bud. We got the Phoenix Suns and the Kings. That feels super right to me. Those teams are cooked.
Yeah, it's tough.
You discussed me. We got the Pelicans and the Trailblazers. Fair enough. And then a rest Ainge, we got the Jazz, and Wemby, heartbroken emoji, we got the Spurs.
Oh my God, I don't even want to think about Wemby right now. But yeah, if you're still here, what should they comment?
Comment, arrest Danny Ainge.
Arrest Danny Ainge. Comment, Danny Ainge, there's a warrant out for your arrest right now, pal.
The authorities are at your premises.
Oh man. All right. Peace.
And we'll see you on Thursday.